Hello and welcome to episode 6 of Momsley Podcast.
We're your hosts. I am Krishel.
And I am Nyamekye.
Yes, welcome back. All right, so you already know we're going to open up with a would you rather question. All right?
So let's go.
Let's do it. Would you rather be able to take on the emotions of others or have your thoughts be public? Now, if you take on the emotions of others, you won't have control of whose emotion or when it happens. And if you decide to have your thoughts be public, the stronger you feel about, a certain topic or whatever's going on in your head, the louder it is publicly.
Okay, that's easy for me. I'd rather have my thoughts be public.
Why?
Because I don't want to take on other people's emotions. I feel like I'm already the type of person, like, if you come to me with something, I'm going to take it on. And I'm going to worry about it, and I'm going to stress about it. So I don't need the burden of actually having to take on somebody else's emotions. I'd rather my thoughts be public. I'm the type of person, I might not always say what's on my mind, but you could look at my face and tell what's on my mind. And I feel like a lot of the time I could probably get myself out of a lot of situations if I just spoke my mind instead of, being silent. So I'd rather have my thoughts be public.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree. Like, could you imagine, walking around and just bust out crying?
Girl, bye.
I'm already an empath, so I already got enough going on emotionally to be taking on other people's emotions. And
yes,
I'm like you, I don't always say what I'm thinking, but you can already feel my energy, whenever I'm feeling something anyway. So it's like, you might as well just note what the thought is.
Exactly, because now if I want to beat your ass, it's going to be public thoughts that are going to come out, and you're going to know. You're never going to have to question where you stand with me. Not that you do now, because I make it known if I like you or not, but
exactly,
it is what it is.
But yeah, I'm not taking on nobody. Keep that. I'm not taking on nobody emotions.
Right. Because it could be like somebody who's depressed, somebody who's it could be any emotion, hysteria. I don't want to be going through that.
Paranoia.
Girl, I'm paranoid as is. I don't need to carry on nobody else's problems and struggles.
Yeah, for real. No thanks.
Thanks, but no thanks.
Right.
On a different note, so as you probably know by now, obviously I'm getting married. So I decided to start writing my guest list because we're planning for a November 2022 wedding. Mm-hmm. And I'm downloading all these wedding apps, and they're like, oh, well, you should be, making your guest list right now, and you should be sending out save the dates by September. I'm like, September? That's a whole year and some change away, or whatever. And I didn't realize how many people I knew. I'm already at 70 something people, and that's just my side of the family.
I know, that's something like you need some legal paper. Don't be walking around with no sticky notepad or no notebook paper. You need a full legal, legal paper.
I got I took some paper out of my printer, and that's what I've been using to write down. And I'm like, okay, well, half the paper is going to be for my side of the family and half is going to be for his side. Girl, ain't no space left for his side of the family. You have to get a whole nother paper.
That is so funny. Yes.
And I'm not prepared for all the money that I'm about to spend, because I'm trying to do this on a budget, and it seems like you put the word wedded in it and the price goes up a couple $1,000s.
Yeah, for real. People that I've probably got into the wrong business. I needed to be in this wedding scene, because if it's a party or something, that's one price, but you say a wedding party, it's up 5 times.
Girl, a photographer, I think the cheapest one I seen was $1,000 for a couple hours at the wedding. And I'm like, well, how am I supposed to choose which hours you're going to be at the wedding? I need you to capture beginning to end.
Exactly.
And then they talk about, then they got the audacity to tell you, oh, if the prices are too high, then we will work with you to get a plan that will work, like a package that will work for your needs. So why are you sending me these high ass prices? Because who's paying this?
No thanks.
One venue had the nerve, the audacity, the proper eye pass to tell me that the starting prices to have a wedding at their venue is $30,000, so they don't think that we would be a good fit. I said, you didn't have to tell me that. I already knew you're not a good fit.
No, you're not a good fit. We not the good. You're not the good fit.
$30,000 for what? To eat your nasty dry chicken? No, thank you.
Not your dry chicken. That chicken didn't dry though. I'm not even going. Like, I hate wedding food.
I've never been to a wedding and the food was good. Never.
I hate wedding food.
Unless
that
it's like catered
dry.
by like. Right, unless it's like catered by like the family, the food is always nasty.
I was gonna say, unless it's family food where you know, and they know, that chicken gonna be dry. Never fails.
Dry as hell. You're gonna be choking in there.
Yes, but another random story time. Like at what point? I'm trying to figure out at what point did the switch from my kids going through like this baby talk phase to like me feeling like I'm having a conversation with a grown ass adult. Like right. My daughter, my 8-year-old specifically, she came up to me the other day. She's like, yeah, I think it's time that I start going back to gymnastics. And I was like, okay, why did you say that? And she's like, because 18 in gymnastics years is just too old. I'm like, you're nowhere near 18. She's like, yeah, but I need to start now because by the time I'm 18, I'm going to be too old in gymnastics years. I'm like, first of all, you've been watching too much Olympic coverage to even know that. And second of all, like, sis really came and sat me down and was like, yeah, it's time. Back to gymnastics. Sign me up.
Right. And I'm really trying to figure it out. That's how I feel sometimes when I talk to my daughter too, because our daughters are like 9 months apart. But I feel the same. Yes. Well, I only got one daughter, but they're both our oldest. And sometimes she'll talk to me like, even now, like I'll crack certain, like I have a very dry sense of humor and like she understands it. Like I'll say certain stuff and she'll be cracking up with me. I'm like, oh, I got myself my own little bestie. She gets me.
Right. Literally.
Anywho's, as a child, I feel like we're constantly being told that we can be anything that we want to be when we grow up. Like the sky's the limit. The possibilities are endless. And it's like, what happens between childhood and adulthood that you end up losing that mentality where as an adult, you end up being stuck in like an everyday routine and it feels like the sky is no longer the limit.
Yeah, that's
like,
so
how
true.
does that happen?
Yeah, because like as a child, you're so like dreamy, your imagination is so big. Then I feel like when adulthood hits you, it's just like, all right, that was fun. You know, put those childish things away. Now come on, get to this 9 to 5.
Right.
Repeat.
That's what I was
repeat times 7 days.
Right. That's what I was gonna say. Like, I feel like when you grow up and you realize like, oh, I gotta pay these bills, it's like you just do anything to survive pretty much. Is like, so most adults, like all their hopes and dreams just go out the window.
That's so true. Yeah.
Like, why do we stop dreaming? I feel like there's so much more to life.
No, I definitely agree. There's definitely so much more to life. But like you said, I think then bills start coming in and you like, all right, I don't got time for that right now. Put that on the back burner, and it just, you keep putting it on the back burner. And then it's just like, okay, well, I was a kid anyway. So that doesn't really matter. Let me just do what I need to do to pay these bills.
Right.
And that's how I'm gonna formulate my life.
That's like, I know a lot of people who end up being like doctors and lawyers and stuff like that because that brings in money, and it's like they forego like their artistic side because, you know, it's usually like harder for somebody to do music or or dance or like just like painting. Like, it's harder to make it and be at a point where you can survive off of that and pay your bills and meet your everyday needs. So it's like a lot of adults, they just kind of like let go of like their talents to just do whatever they have to do to survive.
Yeah, it's almost like if what your mind imagines, what you truly want to do, it's almost like if those things don't pay the bills, then it can't be a reality. Like, it could be a hobby, you could do it on the side in your free time, but it's not as important as what's actually going to have you sustain a good life.
Yeah. The other day I overheard my grandmother on the phone with one of her friends, and her friend, I guess she used to be in the military and she's also like a nurse. And they were like on the phone, like, yeah, these kids are sitting here doing they got all these majors in college and all this stuff. And yet when they come out, they can't find a job. They can't do this, da, 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 and the third. And I'm like, we have all these options now for a reason. Like, it's not, oh, you're going to be a doctor, you're going to be a teacher. Like, there's more things out there now for you to be able to make money. Like, they still have this mindset like, oh, well, you should just do like a liberal arts degree, or you should do like doctor, lawyer, whatever the case is, because we know those jobs pay money.
Yeah, I mean, and that's not to say that people still don't want to do those things. Like, I know a doctor personally, like, since she was a child, her dream was to become a doctor because of something she had went through health-wise as a child. So that's what she wanted to do, and she did that, and she's happy doing that. Like, she doesn't feel like, oh, I'm just doing this to pay the bills. But also, I think for the majority of the population, it's very much like, all right, forget what I want to do, forget what makes me happy. Like, what's going to help me pay these bills, what's going to help me feed these kids, what's going to help me get to my next goal, you know, financially.
Yeah, and that's when you come across people who are doing jobs, especially like some people who work in like places like nursing homes, where you hear a lot about patients being mistreated and stuff like that. Like, a lot of people, their heart isn't in it because that's not what they really want to do. They're just doing it because that's where the money is.
Yeah, that's so true. That's so true.
I'm here to let the adult world know that it's not too late to follow your dreams. Like, don't let society tell you like that's not gonna be a sustainable career or whatever the case is. If that's what you want to do, that's what your heart is in, then you figure out a way to make you money so that you can continue to do it.
I've come to the realization, actually, I mean, I've known this for a while, but it's definitely like hitting home for me more these days. Like, this whole idea of you living to work, it's just like, I just don't agree with it. Like, first of all, especially this 9 to 5, you working, especially like 5 days a week. First of all, who came up with the concept of working 5 days and only having 2 days off?
I could fight
like, that's crazy to me. That's absurd. And
I'm pretty sure it started from the plantation.
You know, I wouldn't be surprised. I actually heard it was from a mathematician, but I don't know. That could just be rumor. But it's crazy to me. And then from the standpoint of being a mother, like homeschooling, making the decision to homeschool my kids, for right now at least, it's probably been the best choice I've made as a mother thus far, not only because of the education aspect, but also because of the time I get to spend with my kids. When you're working a 9 to 5, you're working 5 days a week. They're in school 5 days a week. Literally, those 5 days, you get the end half of the day, not even half, the end quarter of the day with them. And during that time, you're like, okay, gotta do homework, gotta get this done, gotta get ready for tomorrow. And then you're doing it all over again the next day. And it's like the only time that you have for quality time is maybe on the weekends, you know? Like, who wants that? Personally, I don't. I do know some people that's like, send these kids back to school. Like, I need my me time. But for me personally, I need that quality time with my children. Yeah. But outside of being a mother, just being an individual, like, I don't want to be dedicating the majority of my life to somebody that's signing my paycheck. You know, and most of these businesses, especially when you're working for somebody else, like, they don't have your best interest at heart. If something happened to you, okay, they're going to put up that now hiring poster and go on about their way. Like, they don't truly care about you and your well-being.
Right. That's so true. And I always tell people that, I'm like, if you need to call out, if you need to take a sick day, like, do that. Because at the end of the day, if something happens to you, just as quick as you're gone, they're going to find somebody to replace you, because it's a business. They don't care about you.
Exactly.
That's why I'd be quick to quit a job, because the same way I got this one, I'll get another one. Because my kids always come first.
Yeah, I don't be quick to quit, but
deuces.
If I'm not feeling it, hello, who? Yeah, I'm not today. No, matter of fact, not tomorrow either. Just go ahead and put me down for both days. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Nope, I'll quit. I'll leave the whole company. But that's because we work in two completely different fields. So it's not as easy for you to just up and be like, yeah, I ain't coming back ever.
Yeah, I mean, I could, but it's just not.
It's not the smartest idea.
Yeah.
So speaking of jobs, what did you want to be when you were a kid?
Okay, so funny story, actually. Whenever, people, when you're young, people always ask you, like, oh, what do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to be when you grow up? You go to all these career fairs. I remember there was this career thing at my school, in elementary school, and they had all these people come out to show, like, what they did, our different options. And the thing that interested me the most was the truck driver, because I never knew that there was actually beds in the front part of the truck. I think it's called the cab. I walked in there, I was like, what? Y'all got a whole room in here? Like, this is crazy. But I never wanted to be a truck driver. I just always wanted to just be in the truck, But so whenever people would ask me, what do you want to be when you grow up? I actually never had an answer. I never knew what I wanted to, like, nothing really ever intrigued me. I'm not a creative, artsy type of person, but also growing up, I never really saw, like, the people around me weren't really, like, into entrepreneurship and businesses and things like that. So I never really had that aspect either. But one day, my best friend at the time, I went out with her family. We went somewhere, I don't even remember. And everybody was asking, oh, what do y'all want to be when you grow up? And sis, off the bat, she knew. She was like, I want to be a pediatrician. And I was like, wow, she knows what she wants to be. And so they asked me, they were like, what do you want to be when you grow up? I was like, a pediatrician. And they were like, oh, that's so cool. You guys want to be the same thing. And I was like, yeah. So literally from that day on, whenever someone asked me, what do I want to be when I grew up, my answer was pediatrician. And honestly, at the time, I didn't even really know what a pediatrician was. But one day, my uncle, God rest his soul, he asked me, and I told him a pediatrician, and he was like, oh, you want to be a doctor? And I was like, oh, it's a doctor. I didn't want to be a doctor, but okay. So
you was really out here about to sign up for the first day of classes, not even knowing that you signing up to be a whole doctor.
I had no idea. It sounded good.
It sounded good.
And every time I told people, they were so impressed. They were like, wow. I was like, ooh, this must be a good choice. So my uncle's like, you must like kids, because pediatricians, they're children doctors. I was like, oh yeah, I actually really do enjoy working with kids. So I was like, God must have just gave that to me, because I actually really do like kids. Then I realized, as I got older, I realized what it took to be a doctor. And I was like, I'm not trying to be in school for that long. So I'm going to keep telling people that, but I really have no idea. So when it came time to, filling out college applications and making the decisions of what you want to major in, I was like, all right, I'm not going to do the whole doctor thing. Let that go. Y'all can let those dreams go. But I do like working with kids, and I have a lot of family who works in the health field. So I'll just be a nurse that works with kids. So I'll be a pediatric nurse. And literally that's how I came into the career that I came into.
What a story. All because your friend said pediatrician. Good thing she didn't say veterinarian.
Literally. Yeah, because I don't do animals. But yeah, like I enjoy my career. Like I said, I actually do love working with kids. But yeah. There was like no, and it was funny at my job in one of the meetings, they decided, oh, why don't we go around the room and everybody tell why they chose to be in the career that they chose.
Yeah.
Because we had doctors, we had nurse practitioners and nurses and all parts of the medical field in this meeting. And everybody's talking and they had all these amazing stories. And I was like, what am I about to tell these people? Like, I can't tell them what really happened.
That you stumbled into this?
I literally stumbled into being a pediatric nurse, but yeah, that's how that happened.
Well, growing up, I always wanted to be a teacher or a lawyer. And a part of me still wants to pursue those careers, but obviously I can't be both at the same time. I mean, I guess I could. I could be like a teacher in college or something that knows law. I don't know. But like, even like as a child, like I used to have like all my stuffed animals lined up on the bed or on the floor, and I used to be teaching them. Like my mom, like she embarrasses me because she's always telling these stories. But yeah, I always thought I would be a teacher or a lawyer, and I still want to go to law school, but I'm gonna give myself a few years before I pursue that. I feel like I've been in school for so long that like I just need a break. I have a record for how long it takes to get a bachelor's degree, and it took me forever, so.
Oh, Lord. But you got it, though.
That's all that matters, right?
That's all that matters. Where did you get your bachelor's in?
Business management. So I have a bachelor's of science in business management, and my concentration was accounting. So I'm actually looking into taking my CPA exams, but I might have to start a GoFundMe for those exams. They're expensive.
Oh, Lord. Yeah.
So like 10 years ago, did you picture yourself here like career-wise or whatever?
Honestly, like I said, the career that I'm in is not something that I've always dreamt of. So I never really had and by next year I want to be here. In 5 years I want to be here. In 10 years I want to be here. I never, honestly, to this day I still don't. Because let me tell you, I love being a nurse, and I especially love being a pediatric nurse. But this is my personal opinion. Nursing is 10% nursing, 90% politics.
Girl, that's anywhere.
In my personal opinion. So the nursing part of nursing, I enjoy the skills, the compassion, the being able to interact with my patients. I love that part, but everything else, I don't enjoy it. I don't enjoy it. I don't like not being able to nurse the way that I want to nurse. Everything is coming from, like you said, like everything else. Everything is coming from these higher ups that don't work on the floor, that don't see what happened day to day, and don't.
From my personal opinion, they most times have business degrees and don't know a thing about nursing. They just know how to run a business.
Oh, no, they have business degrees. I have one administrator that actually has a nursing background. But other than that person,
the rest of them don't know what's going on.
Everybody above him, they don't have no type of health background, you know? So I don't enjoy that aspect of it. I love my patients. I love working with kids. But yeah, I still wouldn't say it's something that I'm like, oh my gosh, I love the career that I'm in. I do enjoy it, but if I had the opportunity to do what I really wanted to do, nursing would not be number one on that list.
So what would you really want to do? Or are you still trying to figure that out?
Yeah, I never.
That's how I felt. Like people would always ask me like Like, even though, like, I knew I wanted to be a lawyer or I wanted to be a teacher growing up, like, still, like, when we had those assignments in school and they're like, okay, well, write down your 10-year goals, your 5-year goals, or whatever the case is, like, I just never pictured myself anywhere. Like, I still didn't know what I wanted to do and how I was going to get there. Because it's like, you could be a teacher, but what kind of teacher do you want to be? You could be a lawyer, but what kind of lawyer do you want to be? It's like, even my degree that I have now, I kind of just stumbled into that the way you kind of stumbled into nursing, because it was like I was going to school. I started out doing political science and I did liberal arts, and then I ended up doing business management because I was like, well, business management is kind of like a liberal arts degree. You could go anywhere with it. And then I started working at this job and I was doing like accounts receivable kind of work. And my boss was like, well, what are you going to school for? I was like, business management. And she's like, well, don't you think you should try to narrow that down a little bit? Because business management is kind of like such a broad degree. And I was like, you know what? You're right. Every job I've had to do some sort of accounting, like, so might as well just, concentrate in accounting while we're here. And that's kind of how I ended up where I'm at today. But I still don't know where I see myself even a year from now. Who knows?
Yeah. There's not, like, I feel like it would be different if I was an artsy type of person. I feel like artsy people always have that passion, like, oh yeah, I want to create music, or oh yeah, I want to do art. I feel like people that's not as artsy and not as creative just generally have a harder time
trying to figure out their place. Because it's like...
Right, trying to figure out their place, Yeah,
because it's like they know, like, okay, well, I can sing. I love to sing, so I want to pursue singing. It's like, I can't sing. I don't dance. I'm not running nobody's track and field anymore. So it's like, what am I doing? What is my purpose?
Exactly. Like, I can probably say the only thing that I can think of that I'm truly passionate about is children. And I know someone can say, oh, there's so much you can do with children. Yeah, but do I want to? Like, I don't want to be... I feel like I am a good teacher, but I don't do good with, again, not being able to, like, teach the way I want to teach. Like, everything's going to have to be a certain standard when it comes to that. People get funny about their kids.
And my grandmother, she was a teacher for a long time, her whole life. And she was just telling me the other day that she ended up retiring earlier than she wanted to because of all the politics. She was like, she just couldn't deal with it anymore. It's like they tell you one thing, they don't let you run the classroom the way you want to run it, even though you're the one that's there every day with the children and you understand and know how the children are learning and how they're not learning. But it's like they want you to do things the way they want it to be done. And she was like, she just couldn't take it anymore. So she retired like 2 years earlier than she planned on. And I feel like that's part of any career that you pretty much take. As long as, if you're not the boss, then you just gotta like shut up and be quiet and just do what they want. And let them figure out for themselves, like, this is not going to work.
Exactly. And just for the record, even though nursing is not like my number one passion or number one thing that I want to do in my life, I'm a bomb-ass nurse, okay? I get the job done and I do it well. I just want to put that out there. I'm not one of those nurses that be going to work miserable, hating life and taking it out on their patients or the patient's family. I'm not that nurse.
Yeah.
I do my job and I do it well. I just want to put that out there.
We know. You're the best of the best. She's my kid's nurse, even though my kids don't live nowhere near her. As soon as something's wrong with them, I be on the phone with Krishel, like, Krishel, these are the symptoms, like, what's going on? And she'd be like, well, I think it's this and this, but... And then I'll take the kids to the doctor, and the doctor be like, yeah, whatever Krishel said it was, like, she was right from over the phone, and just me sending her pictures of what was wrong with them. I'm like, why do I even come to the doctor? Because y'all are useless. I could get this for free at home. We do not, recommend taking medical advice from just any and everybody. Go take your child to the doctor.
I agree. Take them to the doctor and go to the doctor yourself.
Yes, get your checkups. What is one, like, life-changing piece of advice you've ever heard?
So the most life-changing piece of advice I've ever heard is And I think I want to say, I may completely be making this up, but I want to say I've heard this multiple times, but I think the first time I heard it was from my cousin, Ozara. Shout out to you. Hey, girl. I might be making that up, but I don't know why that's in my brain. I feel like she told me that. But is believe who somebody is the first time. Right.
I feel like I've heard her say that before.
Yeah. I feel like that has been life-changing for me personally, because I am a true empath. Like, I take on everybody's worries, right? And I don't like people like not being happy. I don't like people feeling stressed out. If I can help it, I'm getting better at it. But with that, I also tend to not take people for face value, right? So whenever somebody, say for instance, say I meet someone new off the street or in school, whatever the situation is, at work, whatever the situation is, instead of me saying, okay, this is who this person is, my first reaction of, this can't be who this person is. They're going through something. They're stressed out. They don't mean it. They didn't mean what they said. They didn't know that it made me feel that way. Like, I find every excuse around who that person truly is. And it always bites me in the ass in the end, you know? Instead of me just saying, okay, this is just who this person is. And I think it's because whoever it is that they're showing me of themselves, it doesn't reflect who I am and the things that I would do. I'm like, surely this can't be how this person really is. Like, there has to be an explanation behind it. Yeah. You know? So I feel like if I always take people for face value and believe who they are the first time, like, I think I would have had more better and healthy relationships across the board, whether it's friendship, romantic relationships with the people I work with, relationships with the people I've been to school with, things like that. It would have saved me a lot of drama and stuff like that too. Yeah.
And I could, to add to that, like, you could probably be saying, like, well, this is not who this person really is, but it's like, this is who this person is showing you they are under these circumstances. So that is who that person is. Like, this is them when they're upset. This is them when they're happy. This is them when they're sad. This is them when they're broke. This is them when they have money. Like, they're showing you all these different parts of them, because people react to certain situations in their life differently. Like, the person that I am when I'm over the moon happy is not the person that I am when I'm sad or stressed or broke. So it's definitely who they are. They're just showing you their different faces.
I was just going to say also, an example of that is, you know, when you're watching a movie and there's like a bad guy, and the bad guy is like showing you, like, I'm a bad guy, I am the villain. And the person in the movie is always like, oh, well, maybe I just, or maybe I can't. And you be yelling at the TV like, girl, like, clearly he trying to kill you. like, just, you always know. You always take them for face value.
Right. I think the most life-changing piece of advice that I've ever gotten was my grandmother. She always used to tell me, like, what's meant for you will be. So it's like, before, like, I used to get upset, like, if I wanted something and, like, it didn't happen the way that I wanted it to be. And then she'd be like, you know what, then it just wasn't meant for you. And I feel like me hearing that and me, like, living my life through that has helped me so much, because at the end of the day, if it's for me, then I'm going to have it. If it's not meant for me, then I'm not going to have it.
Yeah, or that could also mean, like, it's not your time to have it.
That too.
Because I think we live in a world now where it's like, we want it right now. Like, give me the fast shipping. I don't want to wait a week for my package. I want it now.
Exactly. And I think that was what part of it was, because at the time I was kind of upset that, like, I was in school and I hadn't gotten my degree yet. And she was like, you know what, like, it's just not meant for you to have. It's just not meant for you right this minute. Like, you'll get what you need and what you deserve is going to come to you.
Yeah, that's
but
good.
I'm a very impatient person, so Every day I have to make a conscious effort to live by that piece of advice.
Yeah. That's good. Mm-hmm. All right. So let's move into our hot topic for this week.
Mm-hmm.
We are talking about Miss Simone Biles. Excuse me, the fabulous Miss Simone Biles.
The fabulous, the one and only. The rest of them could never.
Amazing. Right. Right. Simone Biles. Okay, so if anybody's following the Olympics, or even before the Olympics, what was the last Olympics?
We're in 2021, so it should have been like 2018?
I think
17?
16. I think it's even years. 2016.
How? When we in 2021?
Because the Olympics was supposed to happen last year, but COVID.
Oh, I didn't know that. I don't be following.
Yeah. That's why, first of all, side note, the everything on the Olympics, it says Tokyo, like whatever event, it says Tokyo 2020. So it looks like it happened a year ago, but
the kids gonna be so confused when they watch videos from this year's Olympics 10 years from now.
Yeah.
Just as confused as me.
But yeah, so you know that Simone Biles was part of the 2016 Olympics. Mm-hmm. She did amazing then, but she came back, which is hard to do in the Olympics, to come back 4 years later again in your sport. That's really hard. So she comes back this year, and all eyes on Simone. Like, sis, she got moves named after her, things like that. She is doing it. She is amazing at what she does. Mm-hmm. But so recently, you know, in the Olympics, in gymnastics specifically, you have team events and then you also have individual mm-hmm. events, right? So for Simone, a lot of her events that she was doing that was contributing to the team, mm-hmm. she wasn't doing to her, I guess, best ability, mm-hmm. which is unlike her. She is very much, like I said, she has moves named after her, mm-hmm. you know? She was like falling off of the beam, I think. She on the vault, which is probably her top event. She like fell off of the mat, which obviously you get points, a lot of points deducted for leaving the mat. Mm-hmm. Outside of her not even sticking, she didn't stick, and then she came off of the mm-hmm. mat. So I had a lot of people questioning, like, oh my gosh, what is going on with Simone? Mm-hmm. And she came out. And she was like, y'all, like, this mentally is a lot. Like, y'all put a lot of weight. It's not even, she wasn't even blaming anyone. She's like, I have a lot of weight on my shoulders right mm-hmm. now. And she expressed that, you know, she's been to the Olympics before. So it's not like it was something new to her. She's been to competitions before. But she said that she has never felt the way now that she's felt ever. You know, she was like in between events, she was like, she couldn't even take a nap, and she's sitting there shaking, and she was like, at that point I knew something mm-hmm. was wrong. So she went out and tried to do her vault and just completely like did not do good. She was supposed to do, I think, a 2.5 twist or something. She got a 1.5, which is like, I don't even know if that's like beginner, you know, type mm-hmm. of skill. It was nowhere near what mm-hmm. she could do. So she made the decision to pull out of the team event. So that meant, I think there's 3 other gymnasts on the Team USA mm-hmm. team. So it was up to the 3 other gymnasts to get their scores up in order to be able to place. Mm-hmm. And they ended up getting a silver, which I think is really good. But it was the first time since, I believe, 2000, maybe in like a decade. I can't remember the exact year, but in like a decade that the Team USA gymnastics didn't place gold. Mm-hmm. And so people started blaming her. Like, they were like, "How, that's so wrong. How could you pull out?" And they were like, well, is she really the best? If you can't perform under pressure, then that means that you're not the best to do it. So what are your thoughts on what happened with Simone Biles?
I feel like she is the best. They could hold those comments and save it for their mama. And I feel like she probably definitely is going through it mentally because of all the things that are put on her. Because at one point they were telling her, like, I remember earlier in the year, I was hearing controversy about them saying, like, well, she's too good at what she does. She needs to, I guess, dumb herself down so that the other competitors can have a chance to compete with her. Oh, too bad. If she's that good, then y'all just need to get better. How you sound like, so I'm supposed to tell my kid, hey, I know you're really good at this, but maybe you should try to not be so good at it, so that other people can have a chance. Dim your light. Even though our whole lives they're telling us that don't dim your light for anybody. Be the best that you can be. The stars the limits. But when you become too good, now it's, oh, well, you're too good and other people can't compete with you. That's their problem. Tell them to go train more. Exactly. Go figure it out. I'm not going to dim my light for you. So I feel like she definitely is probably going through it mentally because she has all this controversy surrounding her and her talent. And it's like, it would get to anybody, especially if you're constantly in the media. It's like they took something that was so good and turned it into a negative thing in the media.
Yeah. And I just want to point out her teammates, because they had a press conference after they won silver. And her teammates were like, this silver is for you, because she made the comment that even though she gets a medal because she's technically on the team, she's like, I didn't deserve this medal. They got the medal, not me. And all of her teammates were like, no, sis, like, if it wasn't for you, if there wasn't a Simone Biles, we wouldn't even be here in the Olympics, you know? So they were like, this medal is for you. You may not have done anything to get us the silver, but the medal is for you. And I just want to say kudos to them, because personally, if it was me and she was my teammate, I'd be like, girl, what you mean you dropping out? Like, honestly,
I'd be like, I'm here for your mental health and all, but can we deal with that tomorrow after this is over?
From a competitive standpoint,
yeah, I would not be so.
If I was on a team and somebody said they just wasn't feeling it, but physically you there, but mentally you not, I would have been mad. But I think that was me in my younger years. You know, as an adult, I understand mental health, and I 1000% agree with her decision, because then if she would have went out there, like she was stumbling all over the place. If she would have went out there and hurt herself, then it would have been for what? Like, you knew you weren't mentally able to perform to your best ability, and now
if she would have went out there and then did whatever, hurt herself or made them place below silver, then it would have been a whole nother thing, and that could have even had more of a detriment to her mental health. So kudos to her.
And she said that as well. She said she did say, if I would have went out there and performed how I've been performing, there was a chance that they wouldn't even have placed. So kudos to her. I think it came in this morning that she has decided, I know she was up in the air about it, but as of today, she has decided to pull out of her individual events as well. So she will not be competing anymore in the Tokyo Olympics.
And that's today when we're recording, as in July 28th.
Correct.
So by the time you guys hear this, it would already been news that she's no longer doing it. But it's just so sad, because it's like she worked so hard, and then as your daughter pointed out, that she's like, Simone is like getting up there in age, so who knows?
She's 24, I think.
Yeah,
she's 24.
So who knows how many more Olympics she has left in her, if any.
Yeah, I think this is probably it for her.
That's crazy. Well,
and that goes, like I said, kudos to her. Also, Naomi Osaka, I think is how you pronounce her name, the tennis player. First of all, she's bomb too, doing it. She pulled out, I want to say, I'm not a big tennis fan, but I believe it was the World Cup that she pulled out of, solely because
mental health.
Of mental health, because as an athlete, you're required to do interviews, you're required to do press, and she's made it very clear she has social anxiety, so she'll perform on the court for you, but when it comes to talking to people and engaging publicly, she's not a big fan of that, and it messes with her anxiety, and that could in turn mess with her game. So shout out to Naomi Osaka for standing up for herself to say, okay, if I'm going to be fined to not be doing press, I'm going to pay the fine, but also y'all not going to see me on the court. And Naomi Osaka she's a big tennis player. She's very popular. So guess what? Now she's not playing, so y'all not getting the views that y'all were getting before. So shout out to her for being the first one to stand up to say, no, I'm not doing it.
She pulled out of the French Open. But yeah, I was
That's what it was.
I was definitely proud of her for doing that. It takes a lot for somebody to be like, you know what, my mental health is now all the way there, and I know me, and I know my body, and this ain't for me. I'm removing myself.
Yeah,
because some people can't do that in simple situations. So I can't imagine doing that, and the whole world is watching you.
Exactly. And it has to take emotionally a toll on you too, because it's something, when you're to the Olympics, you have worked your whole life, or at least a good portion of your life, dedicated to that sport to be able to even make it to the Olympics. So to be able to be strong enough to say that I know mentally I'm not there and I can't perform the way I need to perform, so I'm just gonna sit it out. Kudos, because honestly, I don't know if I'm that mature. I probably would have still tried and then hurt myself, then been mad because now I'm hurt.
Yeah, it definitely takes a lot of strength to be able to do that. Oh, it says that Biles, she did consult with a doctor before she, walked off the field and decided she wasn't doing it. Yes,
there was people, they had medical staff that, was checking on her, because that's something else that she did mention, that when she first said she couldn't do it, people were, her team, their initial reaction was like, no, you're okay. We checked you out. You're okay. You can do it. And she was like, she was like, no, I'm telling you, this is how I've been feeling. I cannot do it. And she said, because it was coming from her, they know that she never backs out of anything. They knew like something was wrong, and they okayed her. And shout out to the people around her, because not everybody, people also have their best interests. Her coaches could have easily been like, no, go out there, you're doing it. But they listened to her and said, okay, this is what she said, this is what she's feeling. All right, we got to listen to her.
Well, we can only pray that these young ladies get their mental health together so that they can bounce back even better. Bigger and better, because we're not dimming our lights for nobody.
Period.
You want to beat me, then you need to figure out how to get better than me. And that's about it.
And that's just that. All right, so before we go, we're going to leave you with our weekly mantra, which goes perfectly with the topics that we've discussed today. And so the weekly mantra for this week is, I am comfortable saying no as a complete sentence. One more time for the people in the back. I am comfortable saying no as a complete sentence. You don't need no explanation. You don't even need a why for yourself.
No means no in all languages.
No is the answer.
All right, so we just want to thank you guys for listening to another episode of Momsley Podcast. If you like what you hear and you're listening on Apple Podcasts, make sure you rate and review so we know that we're doing a good job. And if you'd like to stay updated on everything Momsley, make sure you're following us on Instagram.
And make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Just search up Momsley Podcast so you can watch the full visual episodes. All right, so we'll see y'all next Wednesday.
Bye.